Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and another video. So today we're going to be doing our Pantone 2023 nail polish picks. Now, if you didn't know, Pantone announces a color of the year, I think every year or maybe even like every half a year. I feel like they come out with more than one color of the year. But I only ever pay attention to the one at the beginning of the year, and I don't know, I did one of these videos last year and it was really fun, so I thought I would do it again this year. So the color of the year that Pantone announced was called Viva Magenta. I don't feel as passionate about this color of the year as I did about last year's. However, I mean, I'm pretty neutral on it at this point, so I figured let's see what I have in my collection that kind of suits this set of tones. The one thing that really does kind of irk me about this color is it's the copy that they came out with to discuss this color. So Pantone called this an unconventional shade for an unconventional time. And I'm like, first of all, I really just don't want to be reminded that I've been living through one national/international crisis after another every single month of my life since I was in the 4th grade. I just really don't want to think about unconventional times anymore. I just don't want to do it. But secondly, and more importantly, how is magenta unconventional? Magenta is normal. Magenta is a normal color. Literally on Blue's Clues, that's the first thing I can think of is just Magenta from Blue's Clues. I'm like, that's a mainstream, commonly known character. Magenta, it's not unconventional. Weird, right? Like, I just want to read you the first short little blip from their copy that they posted on their website. It says, an unconventional shade for an unconventional time. Pantone's color of the year, Viva Magenta 18-750, vibrates with vim and vigor. It is a shade rooted in nature, descending from the red family, and expressive of a new signal of strength. Viva Magenta is brave and fearless, a pulsating color whose exuberance promotes a joyous and optimistic celebration, writing a new narrative. Like, how many adjectives can you shove into this tiny little paragraph? What a weird way to wax poetic about the plainest color, but here we go. I mean, whatever. I could find problems with anything if I try hard enough, so really I just feeling a little bit ranty. But yeah, why don't we get into the colors before the people at Pantone get mad at me and go from there. So I only have 6 polishes for you guys today because this isn't like a super common color in my collection, and the ones that I do have tend to mostly be creams, but I wanted to give you a variety of finishes. So I have 6 polishes in 6 mostly different finishes to share with you. And they aren't like all exactly perfect Viva Magenta colors, but I feel like they suit the picture that Pantone put on their website, which I'll pop up here for reference now. And I just kind of, they have a lot of different shades of magenta in that picture, and I figure I could just pull inspiration from all of that. So let's start with our cream and just get it out of the way. This is an OPI Infinite Shine, and it's called Running with the Infinite Crowd. This is a really good cream. When I swatched this, I was pleasantly surprised. I don't know if I'm just a little bit biased towards OPI, considering some of my earlier experiences with OPI weren't the best, but this one had really full coverage even on one coat. Now, the brush, I only have a few Infinite Shines and I don't use them very often. The brush was surprisingly good. It's kind of got this weird shape to it though, where it's a wider, like a medium style brush, but it's completely flat at the end, and I really want it to be kind of scooped at the end. For some reason it just doesn't, it gets too wide and it doesn't fit in my nail beds, and I don't have small hands or small nails, so if you have pretty small nails, this brush is going to be really big for you. However, the color feels kind of like the ideal magenta. I have a lot of creams that are just kind of similar to this, but I don't know. Listen, I've said it before, Infinite Shine, I don't get it. I don't really understand how it's different than regular OPI. It's like a whole system where you're supposed to use a certain base and a certain top coat, and then you get longer wear, and it's also more expensive than regular OPI. The only reason I have this polish is because my grandma wanted a pink polish, and she asked me to buy 2 of them, and then she changed her mind after I'd already bought them, and she only wanted 1 of them, and so I was like, well, I'll just keep the other one because I didn't feel like returning it. And now it's the color of the year, so thanks, Grandma. Next is another OPI, only this time it's tiny. This one I got from an advent calendar a couple years ago, I think, and this one is Pompeii Purple. And you know, usually with minis, I feel like the brushes are, you know, not conducive to full coverage even when the polish is, but I felt like this one actually applied really well, which I think speaks to the formula, which I think is telling me that I need to check my biases against OPI. But this is kind of similar in base to the one I just showed you, only it has a really vibrant purple shimmer running through it. It's called Pompeii Purple, but it's not purple. The shimmer's purple, but on the nail, it definitely reads as magenta. And I really like a strong shimmer, so this one is definitely right up my alley. If you're into shimmers as well, I would recommend this one. Next, I have a jelly for you guys, and this one is by Julep. Now, on camera, I bet this looks red to you because in the bottle, it also looks red, but that's because it's a jelly, and when it's all kind of like compacted into one section, the color looks way more opaque. But when it's spread out on the nail, when that jelly quality comes through, definitely more magenta. So if you wanted to make some Viva Magenta jelly sandwiches, I don't know if you have this one because I'm sure like only 4 of you watching probably have this one. This is an old polish, and it's from 2015. Oh my gosh. This company has gone under or is in the process of going under. I'm not really sure at this point, but they used to do these really tall, skinny bottles of nail polish, and I was obsessed with them. And now, looking back, I don't know why, because they are really difficult to use because the bottle always gets knocked over, and they're only 8 milliliters, and they were kind of expensive for only 8 milliliters of polish. But this is the only jelly I had in a magenta, and I'm surprised I even had one at all because as much as I love jellies, like I said, this is just not my favorite color to pick up. So I'm glad I had this to show you guys. So the first 3 were kind of like brighter, poppier, more fun versions of the magenta color. And the next 3 I have are a lot like darker, moodier types of magentas, I guess you could say. So I have 2 China glazes here, so let's start with those. So first of all, we have Gift for You, which is part of their Sesame Street Christmas collection. And this is just a kind of chunky magenta glitter. I have it in 2 coats on my nails here. I think that with 3 or while sponging it on, you could get even better full coverage, but I felt like even with 2, it wasn't so bad. And surprisingly, I think out of all of the 6 that I'm going to show you today, this one's probably my favorite. I just really like the way it looks as a glitter in this tone. I don't know, there's something about it. I don't like a brighter magenta, but these darker magentas that I'm showing you, I feel like they're kind of spot on for me, at least as far as magentas go. But yeah, it will look a little bit sparse on that first coat, but I find that with glitters, they tend to build up on the second coat if they're gonna be opaque. If you put on a second coat and it doesn't look like it's building up very much, then you probably have more of a topper style glitter. But this one, I feel like you can build up to full coverage pretty easily. The other China glaze that I have is also from the Sesame Street collection, only it was from the original You Do Hue collection that came out. And this one is called Monster Piece, which I think is just a really cute name. It's definitely similar in tone, only this one, instead of being a glitter, is like a scattered hollow. And I feel like it's really apparent in the swatch photo. I'm not someone who's super drawn to hollow, but this one, I feel like the hollow just really popped. And I feel like this kind of color is honestly, the more I'm sitting here thinking about it and thinking about, oh, I don't like magenta, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, this is kind of a good transition from winter into spring because it's got potential as a bright color, but you still have those darker moments. Pink and spring, I just kind of associate them together. So I feel like you got like that darker magenta with like a springier color. I don't know, maybe I'm just reaching. But yeah, that's the scattered hollow. And then I have Holo Taco's Hot Wire Pink, which when I first looked at it, I wasn't sure if it fit, but I feel like it's somewhat in that vein. And this was a summer polish and it's pretty opaque. I feel like Holo Taco linear hollows, they go on really easily. They are pretty opaque on even that first coat. This one is no different. And then when I was looking at Hot Wire Pink and Monster Piece, side by side when I was looking at the swatches, I had always told myself, like, I like linear hollows way more than scattered hollows. But I realized I lied to myself because I found that I was way more drawn to the scattered hollow than I was the linear hollow. So I learned something about myself. So yeah, it's kind of all over the place tonally, but I feel like they give you a lot to work with the like inspiration pictures that they put on their website. And while I know that, you know, the color code only applies to a single color, you know, that's kind of the point. What was the color code? 18-750, I guess. I'm just going with kind of magenta as a whole and the pictures that they put up on their site. And I feel like I encapsulated it pretty well. I know this one looks red, but I promise you it's not. So let me know, what are your guys' picks for the Pantone color of the year this year? I feel like it was a lot easier for me to find stuff in my collection for last year's than it was for magenta, but I think it's just because it's like a red leaning tone and I just don't pick up a lot of that stuff anymore. But if you guys have some that are like dead on for the color of the year, let me know because I would like to see them and see maybe if I am interested in picking them up. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's going to be it for me. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.